Hi,
Hello,
Tim.
gorgeous people. I have got Moniqua Plante. It's not Plante or anything, or
Let's.
Moniqua Plante.
Oh, I get Moniqua Plante a lot, but it's not. It's Monica Plants. Yeah.
Moniqua Plante.
You can make it really fancy because technically, like we talked about earlier,
Yeah.
it would be La Plante, for my last name, but they cut off the law, and so it's just Monica Plant. So there you
Yeah,
go.
see, I would be tempted to add the law. I would be tempted to like flourish it out as much as I could make
I know, really make
it.
it a little sexier. Yeah, I'm with you. I get it.
So you've been in everything. Hello, Tim. Tim says hi. He says you have a captive
Hello.
audience here. So I
Excellent.
gotta confess, I saw your reels. I saw you perform. I'm just like, when you see somebody and you're like, oh my God, I know them. And
Oh,
because I'm one of those people that when I watch things, I forget that I'm supposed. That's why I'm not big on awards and red carpets and stuff. Because when I was a kid, that was always like they preempted my normal viewing time
hmm.
to show all these awards and stuff. And like I just wanted to watch TV. And I thought Lucy was my aunt and Rockford was my uncle. And I believed them. And so I had seen you, but the other thing that occurred to me is you have, and I noticed this, I was on a master class with you. You have
That's right.
a really honest touch with your acting.
Oh, well, thank you.
And
It's such a
you
nice
also,
compliment.
it was, and we never said a word. And I reached out to you. And the reason I reached out to you was because you showed up. You were tangibly there. I was ill that night. I had just a personal. I was very sick. I love PJ. I can't say enough about
Mhm.
him. I love his master classes. I wasn't well that night. And when you're not well, record narrating in front of a bunch of fellow narrators
Mhm.
can be intimidating, especially when a lot of the narrators are friends with each other. And you
100%.
you know, and everyone's always supportive and everything, but there was a lot of people that are best friends are getting together and it's easy to feel left out. um
Mhm.
and you showed up. You
Mm.
were a tangible presence. You kicked ass in your recording. You you communicated with everyone. You
Mm.
didn't just communicate with the people you knew, you communicated with everyone, and you made the quiet people and the people that are like, I can't remember specifics. That's why I'm literally not calling anyone out because I don't remember most of the evening. I was so ill, but you communicated with I've only done one book, I'm really, really nervous people, as
Mhm.
well as the people that have been around a while. And that, if you ask, I think Lisa Ware, because she was like,
Mhm.
oh, you guys, that is what I value in a person that meets you eye to eye and communicates and doesn't
Mhm.
judge first, or who do who are you, you know. And so can you please tell me, I'm going to try to delve into how you became that person. And so can you tell me about 10-year-old Monica, where she lived,
Oh
what
my
she was
gosh.
doing, brothers, sisters, dreams, hopes, ambitions, what pissed her off?
I think, a lot of that probably comes from that. Growing up, like, I think I'm like a lot of narrators, I'm an introverted extrovert. You know, like as a kid, I had a lot of friends, but I also got picked on a lot, so I got bullied, but I always, you know, things were not great at home necessarily. And I just wanted everyone to like me. Like I wanted everyone to like me and I wanted to make other people
That
feel
every
good.
actor on earth, that's
Right?
when you
Right.
know
Like
it's
I
in your
wanted
blood.
100%. Like I wanted to make everyone else happy. I wanted people to like me. I wanted it to just feel good because it wasn't feeling good in my home life,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And so, I know we all have our childhood traumas, but I think it does shape like who we become as we get older. And I think kindness is really important and generosity is really important, like generosity of energy and spirit.
Yeah.
Um, because I didn't really have that growing up, you know? And I got into theater when I was a kid, that was part of it because I wanted, like what it's so funny. Like I think a lot of our background sort of stories are somehow we're not enough. And yet we become actors and we always feel like we're not enough because we're not getting, that feedback all the time. So it's
We
such a
put ourselves
funny
in the
thing.
one career
Totally.
where we're guaranteed
Yes.
to be like rejected every day.
100%. It's the weirdest thing. But like so many, I'm also a certified health and life coach and I work specifically with creatives and it's across the board,
Yeah.
you know. So I think, at 10 years old, part of me was in survival a little bit too. And I did go into like the children's musical theater and things like that, sort of as a form of escape too. Um, but yeah, I think that's where that came up because I always want people to be kind and nice to me. And so I try and really do that with other people. And we've all like I'm newer, as you know. I've been doing this less than a year. And so I was the one person, I went to the New England narrator retreat this year, but I went last year. And I think last year I had one book, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And so we've all had to start somewhere. And being, as you know, being an actor, whether you're have done theater or TV film, it's not maybe as welcoming as the audiobook community. I mean, I find this community be so open and welcoming and supportive, and it's just not as like that crazy competition that you get in other
Can
spheres
I
of
challenge
acting.
you on that? This is something
Mhm.
I'm really interested in. And I'm just honestly, my experience was different
Yeah.
where because I had a bad time, a really bad time, and I was part of a British Actors Network. And
Hmm.
I'm wondering if it's an American British thing, but there were like thousands of people in that network. And, they would support each other as everyone does in all these online groups and everything. And I was working a corporate job and acting on the side, and acting on the weekends, like killing myself, trying to like live the life I could. And I was like, almost had a breakdown. I was
Hmm.
being bullied by a boss, and it was really, really bad. And I posted something, and I can't remember. I think it was like 1,000 people responded almost instantly. And the way it felt was they had all knew well what it was like to be between jobs.
Hmm.
Whereas narrators, it's different now because now narrators are getting it because of the amount of people in the industry.
Yeah.
But for a long time, I didn't get that feeling from narrators. I know we're supportive, we all love each other, but I don't see it any more or less than the actors. Because,
Mm.
but the difference is I see that narrators have been able to get work more easily than actors, steady
Yes.
work,
Yes.
you know.
Yes, that is for sure. And it's not to say like I haven't come from, I mean, I've been very fortunate, I'll say, like I have a great community of actors that I've come up with in like the studio I studied with here in LA. And, I had an actors troupe in San Francisco. So I haven't had, that experience necessarily,
Yeah,
but I have found being a newbie in the audiobook industry, I have felt very welcomed. And I
yeah,
have felt I've made some amazing friends. And, as you get into your 40s and 50s and beyond, it is so much harder to make good friends.
yeah,
And, because a lot of people are married, they have their lives, their kids, or whatever their thing is, and I have new women in my life, new friends that I actually like talk to regularly now and like call and see and like, and that's that's kind of an anomaly. Like it's harder to do as we get older. And I found that more in the audiobook community than I
yeah,
have maybe in other communities. Like I said, luckily I've felt supported in my acting career with my friends.
yeah.
Um, but it is sort of, I think a lot of people coming up in it, if it feels like the entertainment industry in general is something I've heard a lot is like it's built to keep people out. That's how it feels. Like
And
there's
it
the
could be because I haven't
thing.
been there since
Yeah.
2002. And I developed an eating disorder living in LA trying to be an actress.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It can
yeah.
be intense. And that's all I'm saying. And that's just sort of my experience with it. But, coming from like just my childhood stuff is, really just I think we all want to feel included. We all want to belong. And I think belonging is a huge one of my core values, Um, And I want everyone to feel that way because I know what it feels like to be bullied, like you said, and to be left out and all of those things. So yeah, that's so lovely that you noticed that. I really do try and just support everyone because we've all been there, whether
Yeah,
we're
it's
new,
why I
like
reached out
hero
to
books.
you.
Yeah.
I know when someone, yeah, it's, and I think it's profound that you brought that up, because I ask a lot of people that 10-year-old question, and it's
Mhm.
funny because they're all describing the same 10-year-old in different circumstances. And I think maybe that's why when you're a new person becoming a narrator, and it's what I say, that like, um if you have one book or if you have two books, you know, if you're a narrator. If you're a narrator, you're a narrator. That's it.
Yeah.
You're in the club for life.
Yeah.
It's the love of the. It's not the numbers. It's the love of the book. It's not the amount of time. It's the love of the work.
Totally.
But I think we recognize each other. That my 10-year-old kid recognizes every newbie 10-year-old kid,
Yeah.
because we're all those kids that read the books and had the big dreams. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely. I mean, that's why I read a ton as a kid. And like I said, I got into theater because, a lot of times we are trying to maybe escape or find the place that we belong or, whatever our thing is. So I think we can all relate. And like I said, we've all had childhood trauma in one degree or another. And so I think we recognize that in other people. And, I feel like I think most actors, most creatives in general tend to be empaths. Like we pick up on other people's energy pretty quickly. I definitely do. And I get nervous in those things too. I mean, I've done a couple seasons now in the Dion Masterclass, and like my first season, I was such a newbie. I didn't know what I was doing, which was fine. But then my second season, like I was like, okay, I get how to pick pieces now and all that kind of stuff. And I like crushed it the whole time. And then this season, for some reason, my first couple classes, I was so nervous again. And I think it's like I did so well the last season. I sort of was holding myself up to this thing rather than just going into it as a learning experience and a
you
way.
have to go into it with an open, fresh energy. And
Yes.
unfortunately, if you're, and this is interesting because this is a good time to bring this up, if you're struggling with health or something else,
Mhm.
then you don't have the energy. Then all
Yeah.
those little it's like what you said about kindness, and keeping that front in mind.
Mhm.
That's easy if you're well. And
Mhm.
then if you're not well, sometimes you lose that ability, and
Yeah.
it doesn't feel good. And so we were talking, and this isn't a pertinent. Before the call, we were mentioning vocal
Mhm.
strength,
Vocal
and
health
from going
and
from theater to becoming a full-time audiobook narrator. And I think this is a really interesting subject, because a lot of new people, narrators wanting to break into the industry,
Mhm.
watch this show. And if I can save anyone any of the time, that, because I've done it all, I'm telling
Mhm.
you, the vocal coaches, the singing, that I've done it all. um I think I'm almost there, but again, my situation will be different from other people's
Mhm.
situations. So, and you have no idea, if you become a narrator and you stay a narrator for a while, you will find some crazy cures,
Yeah.
like drinking things that you like. Seriously, those reality shows where they have them eat bugs and stuff, narrators do worse. It's like, but it's, I think you become stronger. In my
Mhm.
experience, cardiovascular health, when I was walking an hour twice a day,
Mhm.
it significantly affected my vocal stamina.
Yeah.
We had vocal coaches on here that they they know the stuff, like
Mhm.
yeah. And I've just gone completely blank with names because I've got like a few of them and I don't want to leave anyone out, so I'm not even going to start. But Nick is one of them. um
Mhm.
if anyone wants to look at past calls. But in my case, it was silent reflux.
Mm.
But because silent reflux is silent, you don't know you have it.
Yeah.
You see those commercials and you think, oh, those are for people that eat junk food. And silent reflux is silent. So what happens is, and I'm not a doctor, nor do I play one anywhere, but the muscle there doesn't hold up, it weakens, and it doesn't stop the acid, and that weakens your
Yeah.
throat, and you don't might not even know it. Um,
Interesting.
and you could be then that you'll find you lose your sentences at the end of a sentence. You don't have
Mm-hmm,
enough breath
mm-hmm,
control. Um, or, and I know people that have successfully tried these, their breathing apparatuses, they strengthen
mm-hmm.
their exercises and they strengthen your
Yeah.
and
You want to
singing.
strengthen like the
Yeah,
muscles around and all this kind of stuff because it's not really strengthening your cord so much as it is the muscles around and then having your breath support. And it's definitely something that I've run into because I haven't had to use my voice this much. And,
yeah,
for TV acting, you're really small. You're
yeah.
like
And
this,
you're taking
you know?
breaks because you have to
Yeah,
stop a
because
lot.
you're not you're not literally on camera for like 3 hours straight or something like as you would be recording.
You get a
So it's
net.
something which is why, we were kind of talking about it. But just in terms of health in general, I think besides even vocal health, it's about maintaining healthy mind, body, spirit in general. And like walking every day is something I really talk about with my clients because especially as we get older too, doing like really intense like cardio workouts is not good for us, because it strains our adrenal glands. And so like doing stuff like walking and strength training are really like the best things for us. But like maintaining all of that so we have the stamina in general for the jobs we're doing, whether it's, acting on stage or in film or in the booth. I think all of that kind of works together. That's super important. And
And
eating
scheduling as
well.
well,
Yeah,
because
eating well and all
breaks,
that kind of
taking
stuff. Yeah,
breaks when you record, and not doing projects where you're doing crazy, crazy long days and then like you stop for 3 days because you're exhausted, and then you go back to doing crazy, crazy long days. I mean, people, I'm
totally.
I'm not saying do what I did. Don't do what I did. Do not do what I did. But I don't take days off.
Yeah,
But that's just because I've been working since I was like 9. I've got a thing and I'm not happy on days off. But I, for years, I've pretty much recorded every day. Do not do what I do. Anyone ever. I do not advise it. But a benefit of that is that my voice didn't. I know you need breaks
hmm,
while you're recording and not to try to do too long a days.
yeah,
But if
yeah,
you
for
take too
sure.
much time off and then you go back, it's like if you don't work out,
Exactly.
you
Yeah,
kill yourself and then you can't move for a week.
yeah. I hear that. I hear that. So how you've been narrating for how long? Like when did this journey start for you?
I was doing burlesque and voiceover and um, TV and stuff in the
Hmm.
UK here. I'm trying to remember the dates. Alongside my other job. And then I started working for the Royal National Institute of the Blind narrating audiobooks. And I
Oh,
think
awesome.
that was in 2014 or
Yeah,
13. And then I
that's
started working for myself in 2016.
oh, that's
So,
awesome. My first I kind of randomly went to an APA event in LA in 20, like the end of 2018 or something like that,
oh
because I
yeah.
was sort of just interested. A friend of mine, was kind of getting into it. And I was interested. I met, like Julie Wilson and a couple people, big people in the industry. And then I just didn't do anything with it, which of course would have been lovely to have gotten into it before the pandemic, but regardless,
Why
things
didn't
are
you?
the way they're
I'm
happening.
curious. I hear that a
You
lot from
know,
people.
yeah, I don't know why, honestly. I think for me to start something new, take another thing on, I was sort of like, oh gosh, it just felt overwhelming because I honestly didn't know where to start, really. And so when I started reaching out again, sort of in 2022, 2021, late 2021, like reaching out to a good friend of mine who's been doing audiobooks forever as well. And she started talking to me about it. And then finally I took a course because what I needed was, yes, I wanted to train on how to sort of take my acting talent, but translate it to audiobooks because it's not a
Right.
direct correlation. And I needed to know the nuts and bolts. Like, how do I build a studio? How do I reach out to publishers? How do I do that kind of stuff? And so a friend of mine, Elise Arsenault, has a course called the Great Audiobook Adventure. And so I did
We
that.
love Elise. Elise is a
Yeah, and
master.
Elise
Yeah.
is a dear friend of mine. And so I was really glad I finally did that because even though I had a couple of other friends saying, I'll help you, they weren't going to be able to give me that like A to Z, like how to start and how to like
Yeah.
start reaching out to publishers and getting books and things like that. And so, you know, I'm really about almost a year in, like I said, and I just booked like my last 4 books. It's like I'm at 29 books now. I mean, some of those I'll be doing in the beginning of the year, but I was like, wow, like that's really cool. And with some big publishers too. And I was like, okay, like this is great. And doing these things like we're, meeting you and talking with you and just learning more about the industry and doing the Dion master classes like we were talking about and going to like Johnny Heller's New England narrator retreat and things like that. Like
I'm so jealous. Like every time you bring that up, I'm like, I hate you because I really want to go. I've had my outfit planned for like the last 3 years.
it's so it really is a really magical event, I
Yeah, I
found,
hear it
you
is.
know. Just I think that's why I feel like the audiobook community is like so loving and because doing events like that where you just are with all these amazing people and everyone's learning and helping each other and
And
it's
a lot
just
of that's from Johnny and Joanna,
a
who you
hundred
won't
percent.
get. I can't say enough about.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to go back. I
Okay.
need to hear about, was it all smooth sailing, high school theater? I'm going to do theater. I'm going to do theater. Did you go to college theater training? Or where did you go through that angst of, oh my God, what the hell am I going to do? How am I actually going to make money? Tell
Yes.
us about that part of your
Well,
life.
it's interesting because like I said, I grew up kind of doing theater and then I left it and I've been sort of an athlete most of my life. I was a ballerina, I was a competitive ice skater. And then in high school, I was kind of doing all that. And then I found snowboarding and then I got really into snowboarding and started snowboarding. And I started working in the snowboard industry too, right out of college. Um, and so I worked in action sports for a long time and then the company I was working for, um, lost their financing. I was sort of like, what do I want to do? And I ended up working for the X Games. So I did that sort of thing. And then again, I was like, what do I want to do with my life? They moved to Philadelphia and I was like, I don't want to move. Um,
And you're not even thinking about theater at this time, your
well,
childhood
this
love,
is
or
what's funny is a friend of mine was like, you've always talked about acting. And she was like, why don't you just like take some classes again? And so I did. I was still living in San Francisco and I started taking classes again. And so within a couple of years, I was like, well, if I'm going to do this, I need to move.
yeah,
And I moved to LA and, I had to have a side job. I had to have a side hustle because it does take, I wasn't like I knew anybody. I mean, I was sort of starting from scratch, even getting my SAG card and, all of that. And so I've
it's
had,
exciting moving to LA though, isn't it? Well, no, I don't care
yeah,
what they say about LA. You can feel in the air old Hollywood. I could
yeah,
drive up
yeah.
Wilshire and you can breathe in.
Yeah. I like LA. I mean, there's
Yeah,
things I don't love, but I also live near the beach. I live in Venice. And, so I love this community. It kind of reminds me of San Francisco a little bit, the feeling of it over here. And but yeah, it took a while. Like again, I just sort of dove in like you have to do like, okay, what do I do? How do I kind of figure it out? Like taking classes and meeting people and trying to figure out how to get an agent and all that much. And it wasn't smooth sailing, you know. I think it took me I got my SAG card fairly quickly, which was lovely. Um, but getting my first agent I think took a year, you know, and then since then I had to, I've switched a number of times because as you sort of move up in your
yeah,
career, um, you got to find it's like dating. It really is. You got to
yeah.
try people on for size and there, you see if it's a good working
You can't
relationship.
just
And
stay with that old partner from like 10 years ago who still
no, you
wants to sit on the
can't.
sofa and watch the same TV shows
And
and you want
exactly. And straight
to.
up, there are people that can have more connections and can
Yeah.
get you in different rooms and things. And so, you kind of have to do that as you work. And I've had really amazing years as an actor where I was, I've been on TV shows and worked a lot. And like I have a movie actually coming out today on Lifetime.
Oh, that's
But
exciting.
like,
You guys, just to preempt, we're going to be careful about, because
because of the
We're
strike.
cognizant of what's going
Yeah.
on right now with the strike, so we're not going to promo anything. We're going to be very discreet about that. So I'm not going to like, oh my God,
Yeah.
Monica's been in this and this and this. Just we want to be respectful.
Yeah. So, and like, it's funny because I can't promote it, I can't
Yeah,
promote that.
yeah,
And, but it's fine. I mean, this strike is so important. I
yeah.
really, really believe we would not have an industry to come back to without what's happening right now. So, you know, but like, I had a few years in between this movie that I have coming out and like my last big TV series, it's probably been 4 or 5 years. Had a, few jobs here and there in between, but like that's why like residuals and things like that we're fighting for on streaming services is so important because that's how we make our insurance in between. But that's why like I love the audiobook thing too, because I was a literature and acting major
Yeah.
in college. So I was like, wait, I can act out
You,
books?
you
Like,
get a work.
what?
But wait, but I'm interested in where the life coaching came into this. When did that
Well,
start? How did that work alongside all of this? At what point did that start and what brought you to it?
I can say it. I was working on a show called Nashville for a while. And then when I got off of that, or right before, I think it was right before that, I hadn't worked in a while. And I thought, well, what else can I do? And what else sort of lights me up? And this is obviously way before I knew anything about audiobooks. This was like 2015 or something. And so I had gone through my own sort of health issues and had worked with a health coach, a certified health coach. And so I thought, well, I kind of want to do that. So even while I was like in Nashville working on the show, I was studying to get my health coaching and life coaching certifications.
You learn
And
from other people, don't you?
yes,
Every single life move you've made has come from you being inspired by someone you've met or know.
yeah. Yeah, like how this the health that health coach had helped me, I
Yeah.
thought was super inspiring in a way that regular allopathic doctors couldn't help me at all.
Okay.
This person helped me. And so I thought I want to infuse all of that because I've done everything. I can be super woo woo. Like I've seen energy healers. I've done a million different like coaches and things and, all of that kind of stuff and somatic therapy and Reiki. And, like I've tried it all. I've had experience with it all. And I find it fascinating because there are so many other ways to heal ourselves that a lot of people just don't know about.
Yeah.
And, most people are really focused on just seeing regular doctors and they don't know much about food and health and how much food can be life, food can be medicine, and how much our food industry is pretty awful. And so that was something I just wanted to start helping people with, especially in the entertainment industry, because as you know, and a lot of women, I'm sure know, I mean, it hits men too, but like the overwhelming sort of feeling that you have to look a certain way or be a certain
Yeah.
size or all of that
The
bullshit.
macaroni and cheese diet. I think I went a
Y-
year in LA and all I was allowed to have was one box of macaroni and cheese and a Diet Coke every day, and that was it.
And that's like just eating away at your
Yeah.
insides, you know what I mean? And so we're not taught that. And regular doctors don't know about it either. Like my father had a cancer scare and they were like, just try and eat healthy, but they don't tell you what that is. And they're not talking about how sugar feeds cancer and you really need to like not eat sugar or anything that turns into sugar. And, it was things like that like I helped both my dad and my stepdad who both had cancer scares and they're both totally in remission. And I just thought like, especially within this industry, I really wanted to help people feel good in the skin they're in, be the best version of themselves, whatever that looks like, whatever size that is, but feel healthy and good and have the energy. And when we have that, that's what comes across, whether it's on screen or on stage, even in our performances in the booth.
Yeah,
Like,
people shine. We
yes,
all know the person that. So where did you go to a course? Did you
yes, I did a couple of different courses where I got certifications. They were like year-long courses. And it just it was just something that and of course, like I was like, I'm just going to be a health coach. I'm not going to do acting anymore. And then, of course, I got Nashville. So I was like, okay, like
Well,
I'm
but
looking
but
at the sky.
that's because you let it go, isn't it?
Yeah, a hundred
Yeah.
percent. And I always talk about being committed without being attached. because
Yeah.
that's when the magic really happens. It's like we can be committed to our craft and committed to it, but not being attached to whatever success looks like to us. And that's even in all of our lives, right? And that's like, we might be like, I really want this particular thing. And when we're so focused on that thing, we're not noticing that this other thing might be trying to come in over here that's way better, but we're not seeing it because we're just so focused on that one specific thing. And I think that's being committed without being attached, like letting go what the outcome is going to look like.
And leaving
And
space, because the world teaches
yes,
you that. I was very much like, I mean, somebody said, how do you keep getting these jobs? I would like go and get these high level
yeah,
corporate jobs like I hated, and like still try to act on the side because I'm an actor, I'm just doing this. But I remember when I lost it, having a friend over, when I finally got out of that job that was
mhm,
literally killing me. I was like
yeah.
operations, broken bones, falling. It was
Oh,
literally
geez,
killing me.
yeah,
And I'm sitting there saying, okay, but I need to understand. I know I want to be a narrator, but exactly how am I going to get money? And
yeah,
what about after 3 months? Where is the money? And I thought that when you get more experienced as a narrator,
mhm,
that you have a more secure base for your business and then you have money. What I didn't understand was the base is you and your confidence in yourself.
yeah,
And it's not that you know, really know more mostly what's going to happen after 3 months, but that you know you'll be able to deal with it. It comes in, it's what you
yeah.
said, it comes in a different way than you expected, right?
Totally. And sometimes, I had to learn, like I said, I had to learn this business and how to network and how to reach out and all that stuff. And, so many of us feel icky about reaching out. But then I'm like, I try and look at it like I am solving their problem. I'm solving a problem that they have. Like I may be the voice that can solve that casting issue. And so, I've worked with, like I said, Elise Arsenault, but I've also worked with my friend Elizabeth Nolden and Ramon de Ocampo. And I just did a course with Jennifer Raya, who is amazing.
I'm
She
obsessed with her
Yeah, I
podcast.
love her. She literally, her group course helped us literally create like a business plan, for
Yeah,
like
I really need to
reaching
do
out
that. I got
and
her
all of that
books and
kind of.
everything.
Yeah, and so it was so helpful. And there's certain things that like I have a hard time with follow through sometimes, which is I think my main reason why I didn't jump into audiobooks when I first was interested in it. I dipped my toe in, kind of like, okay, let me just see. And then it takes me a while to maybe take that action. And again, these are learning experiences, right? Like,
Yeah.
that was sort of a like, oh, okay, I see what I did there. I wasn't willing to take the risk. I wasn't really willing to, make to jump in with both feet. And, it might have cost me in some ways, but those are all lessons that we have to learn from. And so that's why with this, I was like, okay, I'm going to take this course and then I'm going to take this other course and I'm actually going to do the courses. I used to be like a course collector where I wouldn't finish
Yeah.
them. But like with Jennifer's, I did it. With Elise's, I did it. And then here I am, a year in, and I feel really good about where I am. I just got my first audio file review and I was like, what?
Oh,
It's,
congratulations.
yeah,
Congratulations.
it's really
Okay,
fun.
so, but how does it work? So, do you coach alongside audiobooks? Do you have like a client will book you once a week, or how does it work?
Yeah, I have a whole website. It's just Moniqua Plant Wellness, super easy. And I always offer like free 30-minute sessions with people because you just want to make sure you vibe and that I feel like I can actually, help them on whatever their journey is. Um, and then it's month to month, and I just work with people on whatever their issues are. I've always wanted to do like a group course, but so many of my clients are coming from different needs.
Yeah.
Yes, some people want to lose weight, but other people just want to feel better. They want to have more energy. They want to understand how to eat that supports their body. They want to, understand all of that stuff. And so many of us, especially I think in the entertainment industry, whether it's audiobooks, theater, film, whatever, we allow ourselves to get very, very overwhelmed. We feel like we have to do all the things all the time. And I used to do this all the time. And like you, got really, really burnt out, really burnt out and sick. I used to get sick all the time because I would just go, go, go until I literally made myself sick. And your body will tell you when you're doing that. And so it's really about sort of relearning how we're even socialized, especially as women, to give, 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 take care of everyone else around us before we take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's really sort of relearning how to do that in a way where we can put our health, wellness, mindset, all of that stuff first. So then we're not giving from an empty cup. And I
Yeah.
always say, like, having that all or nothing mentality, feeling like you have to be perfect and do all the things, like all or nothing always leaves you with nothing. We can't do it all. I don't want to do it all. That sounds exhausting, you know? And so finding ways to like fill ourselves up. So then we have enough to give to all of those things that are important to us, the people in our lives, whether it's your children, your partners, your friends, your family, your career, all
Yeah.
of those things.
Yeah. Yeah, I realized I'm going to edit this part out. Note to Daniela, edit this part out, because not because there's anything wrong with it, but because people will get really sick of me going on about this. But I recently started virtual reality meditation as part of a
Okay.
trial, and I can't sit still. I'm like, I do one thing, I'm listening to something else on the side. I
Mhm.
can't. But this is just, you're in a different world and you're so fascinated that your brain stops worrying about. And
I
I
love
now
that.
I get it. Like,
Yeah.
what meditation does. I get it.
I have a couple clients who are very much like that right now, and they're narrators, and they're like, I just can't meditate. And I'm like, well, here's the thing, you can. The fact that you
Yeah.
say you can't is part of the problem. And also, like, meditation doesn't mean you stop thinking. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean like we're never going to stop our thoughts, right? It's about just letting them flow through you, right? Just so we're not like harping on any one thing. We're not getting caught on any one thing. And you're just going back to your breath, or you're going back to your guided meditation, or your virtual
Yeah.
reality
The
world that you're
virtual
in.
reality. I think some people are visual and I'm visual. So that
Yeah. I
excites
love
me.
that. I love
Yeah.
that. In fact, I might recommend that. I'll get more info from you on that
I'll
because I'll
give you,
recommend that to
I'm
my client.
such a proponent of it. That
Yeah.
and the thing that I'm doing for the LPR, when I love something, I just want to like, because I don't want other people, because you know, you sir, it's what you say. And I think if someone finds someone like you that they vibe with and they work well with, and the message is the message that, because we all know, you know, the book that you pick, like The Artist's Way, don't even get me started.
Yeah.
And you know it's a great book and it would fix your life, but you can't get past chapter one,
Yeah.
right? But then maybe 10 years later,
It
you'll,
resonates.
it'll be a whole different book. So
Yeah.
I think if I talk about the things I love, maybe it'll hit the one person that needed to hear it.
Absolutely. And we hear things, I think we can hear things a million times, and then it's going to be from one other person that we hear it and we're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
because we can't take that stuff in until we're ready." I think that was maybe audiobooks for me. Like I wasn't quite ready to like
Yeah.
take on this other thing, which was literally a whole new career, right? And I already had acting and then my health coaching, and I was like, I'm already like spread, a little thin. And at the time I was fit modeling. That was my day job. So I had three things going on already, which a lot of us, actors do.
What's
But I was
fit
like,
modeling? Is that when they like shred and do low carb and then put oil on and
no, no, fit meaning like for clothing. So every
oh,
clothing manufacturer has someone that they
I got a
have
picture
they
of you.
fit, yeah, fit their clothes to. So I was working with like clothing manufacturers directly with designers and things like that. So all clothing manufacturers for the most part have someone that they fit to, and it's usually someone in the middle of the size scale, so then they can scale up and down. So I was running all over the place to auditions, to clients. That's when this overwhelm was happening too. So I think it was hard for me to be like, okay, I'm going to take on a fourth thing, which could really be a career, which is I think when I finally started doing it, I had the bandwidth to actually do it. But like you said, like things may not resonate with you one minute, but then, later on somebody says it in a different way and all of a sudden you get it,
Yeah, I
you
call
know?
them whispers. They're
Yeah.
whispers. Your intuition is telling you, ooh, this is, I think we should all have like 3 or 4 whispers in the back
Yeah.
of things someday we'd like to do that,
Yeah. And
you
I
know.
love that you're spreading. I mean, I talk about the things that have worked for me. They may not work for everyone, but like you said, if one person gets something from it, even from like how I coach or something I say or teach, that all of a sudden they're like, oh, yeah, that makes sense to me, I think is so important. because there's a million health coaches out there, but not everyone, you're not going to vibe with everyone,
Yeah,
you
it's our
know?
job to like listen to other people and pick the parts that we love, that we want, that resonate, right?
Yeah.
And that's what
Yeah.
you seem to do with your life. You pick, "Oh, I'll do a little bit of this, I'll do a little bit of that." The things that you love, you follow your whispers and you
Yeah.
focus
I
on
had
the
a
things you
coach.
love.
I had a coach that called it eat the fish, spit out the bones. And I was like, that kind of makes sense, right? Like we find the parts of things that work for us, even with my like all the coaching I've done in terms of like acting coaching and, even health coaching, my own, stuff for my own health and wellness. Like there's certain things that really worked and certain things that didn't, but I stick with the things that worked, the teachings and those things. And you kind of have to let the rest go.
Yeah, see,
And
that's a smart. How long ago did you learn that lesson? Because I think I learned it like last week and I'm like 100 years old. I would listen to all those podcasts. Oh my God, I started listening to the Huberman. Have you heard of the Huberman
I have
podcast?
heard of it. I've never listened to it though.
He's amazing, right? But now, like in the back of my mind, I feel guilty before I even get out of bed because I'm supposed to get such and such hours sleep according to my circadian rhythm. Then I'm supposed to go out and get sunlight for the first 30 minutes every day, and it should be facing west or not east. And then I should only have my coffee 90 minutes after I've woken up
Okay.
because,
I'm just going to tell you I do not adhere to that kind of stuff. And this is why, like, I talk a lot with my clients about morning and evening rituals, like
yeah,
creating that stuff for ourselves. Now, I think this is really important because I think how you start your day is a recipe for how you show up
yeah,
in your day. And I think how you wind down at night, like releasing the energy of your day, like getting everything out of your head, before you go to bed and having some sort of ritual that you do. I think these things are super important to bookend our days. They also have to change and shift with what's going on in our life. There's no shoulds. Stop shoulding all over
yeah,
yourself.
that's a
Like
should. It was a,
if you have 5 minutes and that's all you have in the morning, do some deep belly breathing and set an intention for your day. And that is it. And
yeah, like
go.
be happy, right? Because like it's
Yes.
taken me a really long well, who was the guy that said when you wake up in the morning, every morning, put your feet on the ground and say, "Today's gonna be a wonderful day." I almost killed my bird who sleeps in the same room as me. I go, "Today's gonna be a wonderful day," and he freaked.
Yeah.
Didn't
And you
know.
have to, again, find the things that work for you. And
Yeah,
if you have an hour in the morning and you can do a meditation, you can do some yoga, you can like write in your journal,
yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
But most people don't have that kind of time. And I think this whole idea that you should be doing all of those things, again, that's putting all this pressure. And that's why I'm always like, do what works for you. Understand that you have a whole menu of things you could be doing.
yeah.
Pick the things that work, pick the things you actually have time for, and let it go,
And the things you
because
want to do. And
yeah,
probably not a good morning ritual to wake up, go straight on your phone, start scrolling and grumbling about how you hate everyone and it's all
yeah.
bad news.
I actually really adhere to at least giving, this is something I talk to my clients a lot about is don't get on let your phone be for at least 15 minutes, when you get up. That can be your time to like do that. Give yourself 5 minutes of deep breathing and think about your day, visualize, set an intention. Like, I want my day to feel joyful and easy, whatever it is, that's easy. You can do some stretching, have a dance party, whatever wakes you up in the morning, and then get on your phone. And I'm really strong proponent of turning off all your devices minimum 30 minutes before you go to bed, because all that blue light and craziness is also effing up our circadian rhythm. And, that's why most people are having sleeping issues and all sorts of stuff like that. So, but again, make it work for you you
Yeah,
know, make it work for
yeah.
you. It doesn't have to be one thing that's just what you're doing. I had a client who had she felt like she had to have it was an hour and a half morning routine. And I was like, oh, good God. Like,
I've heard of those. And I've read those. And who were the wake up before 3 a.m. in the morning every morning people?
yeah. And she was so stressed
Yeah,
about her and I was like, oh my gosh, no, this is supposed to feel nourishing, you know? And so, like, whatever that is, like, I get up and I go walk. If I don't feel like walking, I'll deep breathe. If I have time, I'll meditate. It's like there's all sorts of different things you can do. And I think those things that nourish you can shift and flow. And, you know, it took me a long time to learn this stuff too. And some days I'm better at it than others. And again, we have to give ourselves some grace. There is no perfection, you know, and if you have 5 minutes to exercise, great, do it. If you have a half hour, great, do it. But doing it for 5 minutes is better than not doing anything.
Yeah, and it's also the key to, because I'm not, yeah, because I've been working on, you know, those accounting books with the lines that accountants use for
Hmm.
taxes, that before Excel started, I started writing out my life plan on those. I remember my first
Yeah.
Thanksgiving vacation, I was like, okay, I think I was like 9, the first one I remembered. 8, I'm going to be perfect. I got all my Gothic novels out, Wuthering Heights. I'm going to look like the girl on the cover and my
Oh
new
my
you
God.
book. And I'm going to do these stretches every morning. And I was going to go back to school on Monday because it's 4 whole days off. And I was going to be the girl on the cover. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm still working on that.
There is no perfection. And it's that all or nothing thing. Like, you know, clients that'll be like, well, if I can't work out for a full hour, then it's not worth it. I'm like, yes, it is. So, like I said, if you have 5 minutes, do it for 5 minutes. If you have 15 minutes, do it for it all counts. And like I said, that all or nothing mentality, like if I can't do it for the full thing, we'll always end up doing nothing. Like, and
Yeah.
that's true
And
even in
that's
our
all or
careers.
nothing.
Like, yeah, and all or nothing, like I said, will always leave you with nothing. And that's why I think the biggest thing for me in my life has really just been working on mindset stuff because, you know, we are our own worst critics. Our self-doubt can be paralyzing, you know, and we all struggle with this. And, you know, that's where meditation comes in. That's where journaling comes in. That's where all of these things to help us sort of get out of, you know, clear the noise between our ears, you know, and
And
allow,
audiobooks. We're exposed to things that we wouldn't normally be exposed
yeah,
to. And Ellen says, I'm pushing 70 and still learning. And that's so
it's
true. That's like, because that's what
lifelong.
keeps you young, that spark.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. We're always, I mean, I hope we're always going to be learning and growing and shifting. And I had a coach once that was like, I could reintroduce myself to you every day because that's how much I'm changing. Every day I'm
Yeah.
shifting.
I love
And I
that.
was
I
like,
love that.
yeah,
Because the
because I'm
Joe
not the same.
calls, I would be horrified if I listened to any past Joe call because like I'm a whole different girl. And but
Yeah.
that you forget that people watch you. You put things out in the digital world and they know you from then.
Yeah.
I don't even know her,
Yeah.
you know.
And I love that, you know, we can do that. We have the capacity to do this. And, you know, I know that like a lot of us have come up against some big challenges, especially in the last like 3, 4 years, big life changing things. And I think, you know, understanding how your mind works and where we go when we're allowing our old stories of I'm not good enough, I don't deserve it, I'm not worthy, blah, blah, blah. All of those things, like understanding when those things are coming up and being like, thank you for trying to take care of me, but I'm going to do this thing that scares me anyway.
Yeah.
And understanding that these big things that come up for us are happening for us, not to us. That what are we supposed to be, how are we supposed to be learning and changing and growing from these hard life lessons a lot of times. And I always look at things that happen to me sometimes, like if I feel like somebody's done something to me, I'm always like, well, how was that a mirror for maybe something I'm actually doing to myself, you know?
And that's
And
such a hard thing to do
it
because
is.
when you're someone that's like grew up Catholic, that's like guilt right there. But then I had the darkest month ever.
Yeah.
Fear of health.
Hmm.
I had a dark, dark month. And today, in one day, it just all got better. And
Totally.
I'm actually learned a couple of lessons and took like total control and total
Yeah.
charge. And like I'm way stronger
Totally. And
today.
that's what these things come up for us. I really do think that, you know, these things come up for us because we have a lesson to learn. We have
Yeah.
lessons and things that we need to learn and teach in this lifetime. And, you know, oftentimes we'll feel like we bump up against things over and over and over again, the same shit, different day, you know, and it's
But
because we
it
haven't
pisses
learned.
you off though to hear that
Yeah,
when you're in the middle of the dark
of
day.
course, of
I don't
course.
want to hear this is for my own good.
I know, I know, I know. But you know, I think that when we can take a step back and from our victimhood, because we do feel like shit's happening to us and it
Yeah.
sucks, and absolutely. But when we can sort of like get out of that for a second, step back and be like, okay, what can I control in this situation? And most of the time it's how we respond.
Yeah.
It's how we are perceiving the situation.
And do
That's
you
really,
need a nap? Do you
yeah.
need,
What can we
what
do
would
to
you
take
tell your
care of
child?
ourselves? Yeah, like what
Yeah.
can we do to take better care of ourselves in this situation? Is that more rest? Is it meeting with a friend and just having a freaking one-on-one heartfelt talk? Is it crying? Is it having a dance party? Is it, whatever, getting a massage, whatever these things, these self-care things. And I know self-care gets such a bad rap, but it is so important when it comes to keeping us grounded and centered and focused and getting out of the craziness that sometimes is.
Yeah, and being kind, right? I know at one point, I think like I'd had the accident, I couldn't stand up. I had some other health stuff. I go in the kitchen. It took me like a half hour to go 2 feet. I open the drawer and slam my finger in it. And I'm not like religious. And I
Yeah.
literally stopped and I screamed at the ceiling, really?
Yeah. Oh, I've done that.
Serious?
I've done that. That's what I was talking about. Even when I like was like, I'm not going to act anymore. I'm going to just be a health coach. And then I got a huge show.
Yeah.
And I did the same thing. I was like, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Like, you know,
There's sometimes you just can't ignore. I don't care whether it's religion or not.
yeah.
Something is trying to like,
Well, and that's what I said about like being open to whatever our journey looks like. Like even when so I sort of reached out to my very first publisher. This is before I started my like real, like, I'm going to just do this, right? I got my first book kind of, it was so kismet because I actually had my hip replaced last year.
ouch.
And,
Ouch.
oh, it was the best thing I ever did though. Like I said, I've been an athlete my whole life and it was just stopping me from doing things.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm going to send out one reach out to like one publisher. It was scheduled to go out the morning of my surgery because some of an energetic thing about hips, for example, is moving forward, is taking those steps forward.
Oh,
And so
that's
I thought,
interesting.
okay, I literally got an offer the next week from that public, the one
And
person
can I
that I reached
interject in
out
this
to.
with this right now? Anyone that's watching this video, if you immediately felt something
Mhm.
when you heard Monica say that, my first reach out, I got an offer, because there are going to be a lot of people out there that have like, I've done 100 books, I've been reaching out from publishers and I've
Mhm.
still not received an offer. What is wrong with me? But
There's
ask yourself
nothing.
how you're feeling right now that you feel
Yes.
that way, because if you hear it tomorrow and something good's happened, you might feel differently. That's not one person gets something and it takes it away from you. There's enough.
100%.
It's that there is abundance in this career and it's there for all of us. And it's just a matter of
There
your
was
time.
an energetic, I'm so glad you said that because it was all about my energy
Yeah.
going into that reach out. Now, granted, that it was the one, and then I didn't really reach out again for 6 months.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it was just this one thing that I did. And what I was getting at, yes, of course, there is no like, she got something that means I didn't do it right or I'm not good enough. Again, that's our old story stuff. I literally was like, I'm going in for this pretty gnarly surgery.
Yeah.
This is about me moving forward because I had felt so stuck. Anyone who's listening to this or watching this, I know you hear me. I felt so stuck. And so I was like, this was part of what was going on energetically with my body, energetically within my career. I was scared to take that first step. So it was all that energy of me going like, I'm going to have this email go out the morning of my surgery. And it was
But
it was kind of magical.
I think it's kismet,
Yeah.
and Todd says it's because she's also an awesome
Oh,
actor and narrator. And we know that, but that is, of course, that's the
yeah.
prerequisite. But I think we're also inundated with social media, and
Mhm.
a lot of people that have been doing it for a very long time, including longer than I've been doing it, when they it's it feels like you're constantly hearing about people that I started yesterday and I got a big publisher, and it's
Oh,
not,
no.
that is not That's a cliche, and that's not the answer. The answer
Yeah.
is stop thinking about how many books someone else got when they got their publisher. Start thinking about how can I harness that energy the next
Yes.
time I
That's
reach
what I
out
was,
to a
yeah,
publisher.
that's what I was getting at. And please, no, I
Yeah.
didn't say that to make anyone feel
No, I know
bad or
you didn't.
lessen
It's
or
we
anything.
have to say it. It's the truth. Why would you
Yeah, I
hide
was
it? You
talking
want,
about, like I said, the only things we have control over are our response
yeah,
and our perception.
yeah,
Right. So really it's how we respond. So that's, I love what you said, like for anyone who's listening to that, who's having that sort of like,
yeah,
response to that, I encourage you to go like, hey, why am I responding that way? How
yeah.
can I shift that? Because like I said, I got that one book, but then I didn't start reaching out again for months. And so it was really just this past year
But you see,
that like,
but
it's
you
been
want to
happening.
stop at that because
Yeah.
I think we should all share that feel good. It was
Yeah.
kismet. I got this book. Oh, wow. And then we should all learn to feel abundance.
Yeah.
Of course, we're human. Of course, you're going to feel a little if you're not feeling good right now. But you know what? If
Yeah.
you're not feeling good right now in this career, next week, the next book you get booked on, you're going to be thinking, oh my God, I'm so happy Monica
I'm on
got that
top of
book.
the world. And it's just like you said, you've had a really rough go of it. And then literally within a day, things can change.
Yeah, I
And I,
narrated a book standing on one leg with a fractured knee, fractured shoulder, and cracked ribs. And I narrated the longest nonfiction.
oh my gosh. I mean, this is
I'm
the thing, like
so proud of myself.
we are tough cookies. And I think, we can, it's not about just surviving these rough times. It's about us figuring out, learning how to thrive even
Yeah,
in rough times, especially like I mean, I'll be straight up, like with the pandemic, like I lost all of my income pretty much, like acting was gone, fit modeling was gone, and I really had to start over. So, it's scary at this age to be like, wow, okay, never thought I'd be in that place. And figuring out how I can still find joy in even in these rough times of starting over, of
and you're a
starting fresh.
beautiful narrator. Your read
Oh,
was
thank you.
beautiful,
Thank
just
you.
next level beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I mean, I really do love the craft of
Yeah, and you can hear
audiobooks.
it. And that's the
And
ingredient, the special ingredient, isn't it?
yeah. And so luckily I did find audiobooks and have been able to start over, but I'm still figuring it out. Like I'm still in debt from the pandemic, like still trying to figure out all that stuff. So even though I've had some maybe luck and some kismet things happen, like we all have our stuff. And it's just
Yeah,
like I said earlier, we've all had our childhood trauma, we've all had our stuff happen. We all have stuff. We've all had our dark times. Sometimes we're all in the mud together and it
yeah,
feels like such a slog. And so how do we then find the joy in the everyday, find those little things throughout the day that make you smile, that bring you some joy, be grateful. Gratitude is scientifically proven to reciprocate. How
yeah.
can we find those things every day, which I've had to really lean into so I don't fall into that black hole of being like, oh, things are so not where I thought they'd be at this age, or I don't, I haven't accomplished things, or I'm not in this, or I'm not in that. And it's
And
hard
in
not to do
LA,
that.
that's easy to do because
It's hard not to do that.
it's probably changed. I haven't been there since 2001, but you would like walk when I was there, you'd walk out the door and there's like Jimmy the crack addict on the corner and like really rough times.
I
And then
shouldn't
like
be,
the
yeah,
guy in the
laughing.
Ferrari
Yeah.
driving past him. So you're faced with what could happen to me, what I
Yeah.
wish would happen to me.
And I live like, I mean, I said, I live near the beach. My next door neighbor built a house that's like $8 million. And I was like,
Yeah.
I'm like going, I need to get paid for this book so I can pay my rent,
Yeah.
and it's like,
Yeah.
so again, you know, here's the thing too, on social media, we kind of talked about that. Like everyone's putting their A game out there. Everyone's putting their best day on social media. Not everyone. I love, Tanya Eby, like some of the stuff she's written lately has been so spot on. And I
Yeah.
love her writing. And, Michelle Price and a few other narrators have been very open about their struggles and their journeys. But most people, for the most part, do not do that. They are putting their best day on there. Right. And so we can't compare our everyday to someone's premiere. to someone's like best day. We have to remember, and this is, I'm not great on social media because of that very reason. Um,
But to me,
you
it's
want,
like people dressing up, though, isn't it? It's like if my friend dresses up and puts makeup on and wears like a fancy outfit every day, I'm not going to like hate her and think the world's awful because I'm not dressing up,
no,
but I'm going to look
no,
at her and go, "Oh, so I love that people put their A game out there because we're all
yeah,
playing a game." My
yeah,
headshot, I can't remember how old I was when my headshots were done, but I
yeah.
still look like that. I'm sure I do. I mean, we're all going to like, it's a bit
Totally.
embarrassing when like people start going, "Oh, you look beautiful." And you're like,
What
20
I was
years ago.
saying though, of course, I don't hate on anybody for putting their A game out there. I just don't, what I encourage people to not do is to
Make it
compare
about them.
everyone's A game to our behind the scenes.
Yes, yes, exactly. Why do people do that? Because we all know better.
Social media is, it's a lot of times, like I said, some people are very authentic and very much share their dark days, but a lot of people don't. And a lot of people don't want to put that out there. And I totally understand that.
Yeah,
And that's why, but we all, there's a lot of compare and despair. I mean, let's just face it. Like we
yeah.
do that. And I'm like, we all have amazing things that we're great at. We all have really everything we need inside us. We all are amazing. And
And
it's
we all
about
have
us.
dark nights of the soul, don't
Yeah.
we?
And we all have that. So it was my next thing is we all have those too. And that's why I'm very open about like, yeah, people may look at me and be like, oh my God, she's so lucky and things are so great. And I was like, yeah, I'm still figuring out, finances and life. And, so yeah, like we all have our stuff. And I always say, like, we all can be in the mud together, but we also clean up really well, you know?
I'm really, really, I'm envious of you that you did Jennifer Jill Araya's class. I was like, oh, I love this podcast. I'm going to sign up, and I got the book,
Yeah.
and then I bought a virtual reality headset and a whole bunch of faux fur. But in my defense, it's 90s retro faux fur, and
So
it
I'm all
was
about.
dopamine shopping.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. But I do like that. Basically, by the end of that course, you have a business plan. I think she's turning her live course into like something you can actually just get like a online course at some
I need
point.
to do it, but I'm
Um,
scared.
but
I'm
like I said,
scared.
we all have that, right? I mean,
Yeah,
fear, what is the moniker or the acronym? It's like false evidence appearing real
yeah,
is fear. And that stops us from doing so many things. And that's why I always talk about mindset and figuring out like how can we take care of ourselves the best way so we're putting our best selves out there, we're filling our cup so we're not like giving from an empty cup, which we can't really do because then we just get overwhelmed and get sick or whatever. And but how are we doing those things? And mindset is the biggest part of that, right? Because I can tell you all day long, eat this, do this, move your body every day, do that. But how you're thinking
yeah,
about all of it will
yeah,
affect whether you take action or not. Right. And
yeah.
so that's why it's like, what can we control? We can control how we respond and how we perceive a situation.
Yeah, I
That's
know
it.
the money thing because my response when I worry about money is I'll do I'll do 6 finished hours
Yeah.
tomorrow, and that
Yeah.
then I made more money, so I don't have to. I won't check the bank account. Ellen says name of the course we just mentioned. Ellen, it's Jennifer Jill Araya, and I'll tell you what, she's going to be on the Cup of Joe call, um, in like a week or so.
Oh,
So you
good.
can get her course
She's
there.
amazing. And I think her podcast is called Thriving Artists No More.
Yeah,
And her course
and
was called Taming the Muse. But if you just go to her website,
yeah,
she has
Jennifer
lots of.
Jill Araya, and also make sure you're in the Narrator's Cup of Joe on Facebook so you get the links to the new
Yeah,
calls.
she's amazing. The Great Audiobook Adventure was amazing. Depending on how far you are into your journey. Um, but yeah, I mean, we're all still finding our way. No one
Yeah.
has it figured out. No
We're all
one,
still students.
right? Where no one
Yeah.
has it figured out. And you know, yeah, I think that's why I said like we're all slogging sometimes through the mud together, but every once in a while we get out and get all gussied up and we all clean up well too.
And we look,
So
and if we figured it out, then what? what
That's
would
what I'm
we
saying.
do?
I mean, how boring. That's why I said, like, sometimes we like said those dark nights of the soul were like, why is this happening to me? And it's like, God, can you imagine if everything was just smooth sailing all the time and we're not learning and growing? Like we would be so bored, so bored.
Okay,
You
so now this you've put me in a difficult position here, Monica. And see, you were worried we wouldn't have enough to talk about.
I know.
But I need to ask you the final question of the call, but I think
Okay,
you've
okay,
given us all this through the hour. I'm going to be shocked if you actually can come up with an answer to this one now.
okay. Mm,
Um, for the YouTube audience that's going to be watching this in the next 60, 70, 80, 100
okay,
years,
okay.
if they were to take one thing away from this call, if they nothing else but just one thing
Mm.
away from this call, piece of advice, a sentence, something to remember, what would you want them to walk away remembering from this call? A feeling, a
Life,
thought?
life is meant to be good for us. Life is meant to be joyful.
I like that. That's a good
Yeah.
one. I like that. I'm surprised because you dropped so much gold through the call. I was like, she's not gonna be able to think of anything.
Yeah. I just think we forget that when we're in it, but like we're not here to suffer. Life is meant to be good for us. Life is meant to be joyful. So
Love
try
it.
and do our best to like find that every day, even in the dark times, because we
Yep.
all have them. And that's
Yep.
the other thing is we're not alone. As I said, we forget we're not alone. Like so many of us are going through it and all the time, all the
Yep.
time.
And
So yeah.
especially in the audiobook world, we are all that 10-year-old nerd. That's
Yeah.
us, all of
Yeah.
us.
The introverted extrovert, right?
Except me, I'm not, I can't, I'm an extroverted extrovert.
Yeah.
So,
That's
um,
awesome. But a lot of narrators, I find, we like the solitude of our booth, you know what I mean?
yeah,
And going to things are difficult. But again, like I think that's how we connect and it is about connection.
yeah.
And like I said earlier in the call, like belonging, is really important for us to feel that. So yeah.
This has been wonderful. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for rescheduling when
Oh,
I wouldn't have been
no
my
big
A game at the time.
no
So,
big deal at all. And thank you for the few people that are here. I'm so excited. I hope this was helpful. I hope you got some nuggets of wisdom,
oh,
you know.
there were tons of nuggets. So thank you so much. And can you please send me after this call the link to your coaching as well,
Yes.
so I can include that in the about section in case anyone's
Yeah.
interested in
And all
contacting
of
you.
all of how to reach me online and all that stuff for
Yeah,
sure.
and I get that off your website, but
Yeah.
if it's the same, so anything else you want me to
Okay.
do, definitely.
Awesome. This was awesome. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much for
so
reaching
much.
out to me, Daniela. It was so lovely and I just warmed my heart. So thank you so much.
You made a very hard night for me. Nothing to do. I love those calls. I love PJ. I highly recommend everyone
Mhm.
does them. Can't think of anything better. I was
Yeah.
really sick that night though. And
Oh.
your kindness, the kindness of a stranger, not even directed at me, but your
Mhm.
energy made that night easier for me.
Oh, well,
So it was lovely.
oh,
Thank
that
you.
just really warms my heart. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for
Thanks,
joining,
everyone.
guys. Mwah! Bye,
Mwah.
everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.